We've got a few people on already. How's everyone going? For those who are in the chat, just let me know if you can hear me. For those who are in the chat. Perfect. I'll just wait like a minute or so, see if anyone else joins. So heaps of people messaged me yesterday and today. Cheers, Kev. Getting ready for this live, which is pretty cool. So we had a really good, we had like a really good reception from the first one, which was really good. So, and I felt like it took a while for people to join in for the last one, but then as we got going, it picked up pretty quickly. So, which is really good. Crystal, good. Thank you very much. There's a fair bit to get through today, so I'll give it another minute. We've already got 11 it's saying inside, which is awesome. I've turned the lamp on today, so it's not too dark. I even tried to put like some background thing on it as well. Stephanos, what's happening, mate? Like some green screen thing, but it just didn't work, and I thought, well, everyone sort of knows my background on the thing, so I'll leave it like that. Heaps of joins, so we'll get to it. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining. I'm not gonna lie, I've been looking forward to this for the past week. So, and I think Thursday 8:30 is a really good time. So, and then obviously leading into the season and stuff, when Collingwood plays on Thursdays, we won't do Thursdays. It'll change up closer to the season and stuff. But for now, Thursday seems to be sort of that midweek fix with all the other videos that come out and stuff like that, which is good. But first of all, welcome to everybody for joining. The first thing I want to do is I want to give a really big shout out to the Pies Vault on Instagram. The reason being, he's designed like these FIFA style cards and stuff that I've been putting on my graphics and everything, which has been pretty cool. So give him a shout out, give him a follow. It's a pretty new account, but some of the stuff's really good. So better than I could do. But I'll get to a lot of that stuff towards the end because I actually need you guys' help with some stuff. But let's just cut straight to it. Before we go with all the questions and stuff like that, just shoot them away and I'll get to them as I go. But there's a fair few things that I wanted to talk about. And people have dropped some questions as well, which were really good, which I actually want to answer. But the first one, the boys are back at training, thank God. So everything seems to be, from what I can tell, everything seems to be pretty decent as of yesterday, and they obviously didn't train today. Obviously, Geordie had that niggle with his calf. I'm not sure what to make of it. He basically came out on Channel 7, as we all saw, and he said that he was okay. They're saying it was a calf, but then on Channel 7, he said, it was a bit of knee-on-knee contact, and he got it cleared, which was all fine. So, we'll just wait and see. Honestly, just arrest him for the rest of the week. Even if he doesn't train tomorrow, who cares? Just make sure he's all good. There's no other real big news that's come out, apart from obviously what Kev's just put up in the comments there, which I'll shoot that up on the thing now. So what are your thoughts on Nick Dacos saying that he will be at opening round? When he said that, when I read that he said that, I was so relieved and thinking to myself, like, okay, so obviously the program that he's got, he's tracking well. I have no doubts about him. I was probably more doubtful about Josh because Josh was in the rehab group for a little bit longer, but it is what it is. But obviously they seem pretty sweet. So there was a few questions that were dropped on the chats and stuff like that over the past couple of days, a few inboxes and stuff like that, which I wanted to get to quick just to get it out the way. Nathan Church messaged me on Instagram and he goes, this might be a bit of a shit suggestion, which there are none. He goes, there's been hardly any presses or videos done, and like, does anyone else sort of feel this? And I'm thinking the same thing. The club hasn't put out a lot of press conferences. Yeah, we had Pendle's one at the start of the season. I was actually at training for that one there when he did it. That was the very first main training session before Christmas. And then you've had Darcy Cameron's presser. There's been no injury reports like that, like how they usually do, which I find is a bit strange. I don't know about you guys, but usually that like they would have the was it Jared Waite or whatever his name is come out and say, oh, you know, this guy's on this program, this guy's doing, like I want to know exactly what's happening with Harvey Harrison's knee. I want to like know all this stuff, but you know, we're not getting told anything at the moment. So yeah, I don't know. I just think they should be posting more of that stuff out. The other question that came out was, is Bobby Hill as good and consistent as Charlie Cameron? That was one that he found. Now, I don't know if, well, can we answer that? Like, what's the general consensus there? I think they're both great players in their own, like, in their own way. I don't really see, you know, I think Bobby Hill's got a Norm Smith to prove it. Maybe Charlie Cameron on more of a longevity, but like I'm not sure. I take Bobby Hill every day of the week before Charlie Cameron. Another one about Bobby Hill. Do you reckon Bobby has some of the Brad or Stephen Hill about him? By that I mean potentially able to rotate throughout the wing. I reckon so. I reckon we can see. I reckon we can see Bobby Hill play more of a wing type role throughout the season if he has to rotate. But otherwise, just let him own that forward line. Let him crumb everything. Let Jamie Elliott, Bo McCreary, Hosky when he goes in there, let them do their thing. But Bobby can just cause so much pressure in there and scare teams when he gets the ball and just poach those goals. Just poach those little ones over the top while, you know, Schultz and Elliott are doing all the hard work around the packs. He just gets the ball, bang, finesse, goal. That's what I want to see more deeper into the forward line with them. So that was just some of the questions that obviously came up throughout the week, which was awesome. So in all the videos, just drop stuff on and we'll have a chat about it. If I don't reply to them straight away and stuff like that, we'll get to it. We'll jump to a couple of questions that you guys have got now. So we did the Nick Dacos one. Matt Rowe has met with Essendon also. This is a whole topic of conversation which I was going to try and sneak in at some point, but I'm not 100% if Essendon's got no attraction. Like, they could throw, I know the money's a big thing, but Essendon haven't got that much attraction. If they have a dominant season like this year, like let's just say they make the finals and they're actually like good enough to win a final, stuff like that, then the eyebrows start to raise, like, hang on a second, this team's actually going to be in it or whatever. But I don't see that happening. Like, he'd be more inclined to go to someone like the Western Bulldogs, you know, or a Hawthorn. You know, can you imagine if he was a Hawthorn? Fuck. But then you got to think about Geelong also. So I don't know. This is Eli. Bro, what's up? Non-related Pies question. Thoughts on Ward's injury and impact to Roos upcoming season 2025 with his absence for 3 months from reports? Well, they reckon 10 weeks. So, and that's minimum. But judging on the photos and stuff like that and the video footage on Channel 7 tonight, he pulled it up straight away, but he didn't like full proper limp off. He was just like holding it, walking off and stuff. So let's just say if it's a 6-weeker or an 8-weeker and they're saying 10 to 12, they're going to play it real conservative. But I mean, if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it because you're back like in the first quarter of the season. So yeah, it's a shame for North because he's an absolute gun for North. What role do you see Josh playing this season? He'll most likely play off the halfback for opening round for Houston. I think Josh is going to stay on the halfback, but it's going to be so tight between them. So yeah, we'll see. Sorry, my phone's going off chops at the moment. Like as soon as you get on, everything just happens at once. Yeah, I don't know. But I sort of see Dacos potentially being with if Tom Mitchell's not playing, well, is Perryman going to go in the guts? Is Houston going to go in the guts? Is Josh Dacos going to go in the guts? Who's going to be that extra player that we need there? I'm still thinking it's Josh Dacos. I really think it's Josh. I know the hard ball sort of thing, and he's more quick on the outside. I still think they'll put him in there. I think we can't lose Dan Houston on the half-back line. That's what he was there for. And they want Perryman to play up. I think Perryman's going to play on the wing. So, yeah, it's good to have these problems because we haven't had these problems for such a long time. So, into the woods. Don't mind Bobby in the wing, but I've always been big on Bo coming in as a wingman. He's powerful, explosive, will break the lines, and will take the game on. See, Bo's going to do this. This is what Bo McCreary is going to do, and he did it last season. He's going to come in for the stoppages. So whether he has a run half back, run half forward, or he plays on the wing or whatever, I'm convinced that, let's just say, for example, if he's coming off the bench and he's rotating onto the half forward line, during those stoppages, he's going to play exactly what Nick Dacos was doing on the half-back line at the start of his career in 22 as the extra fifth mid and come in for the stoppages. Excuse me. I think that when Pendles plays in the half-back, he's going to do that. But I reckon when Bo does that, anywhere on the ground he plays, as soon as that ball's bounced and it's free play, as soon as there's a stoppage around the ground, a throw in, a ball up somewhere, he's going to come straight in as that fifth midfielder. And then you probably see Houston come in on the side too. So you're going to have two extra midfielders in the contest, which draws out the other players, which I'm finding was really good for Nick Dacos in his first season when he did that, because you're basically nullifying a forward. You're bringing a forward out. So when the ball goes in, they basically are playing with a half-forward flanker less, and then he's always a kick-behind play because we've already pushed up when the ball goes over the top. So bit us in the arse in 2024 a little bit, but that was just because we had too many injuries and stuff like that. Matty Osgood, here we go. This is a big one. He's a Bulldogs fan, everyone. He's joined us. Thank you very much. Give us your unfiltered thoughts on Jamara Ugle-Hagen situation. This is the Pies channel, but because you're my mate, I'll say what I think. Actually, I don't know what I think. I haven't really gone into it too much in my mind. I think it's more or less the club needs to nurture him 100%, yes. But the issue that I just don't know I don't know the ins and outs of everything as it would be if it's a Collingwood situation and you get the whole and you get all the intel and stuff, but if it's the party scene and he's not 100% mentally into it, then they need to do something ASAP because he's on big money. So I don't know. I'm gonna just watch this space for a bit, and I'll plead the fifth on that one. Come on, bud. Call it top 3 in this year's Copeland. No injuries. Nick Dacos will win it. Number 2, I reckon Jack Crisp. I'm very bullish on him this year. I reckon he's gonna bust that open this year because I've said this before. There's so many players that are going to be tagged, that are going to be noticed, that are going to be whatever, and he has the potential to absolutely bust through everything. And number 3, if he's injury-free this season, there is no reason why Jordan De Goey can't be up there. No reason. I'm not saying that's going to be the 3. But I hope that's my 3 for now. Dacos, Crisp, De Goey. If De Goey gets in the top 3 in the Copeland, we'll win the flag. Stop it. Do you think Demeter will debut for Collingwood this year? If he doesn't, Chris, if he doesn't debut this season, then we've got some major issues happening. We've got some serious major issues if he doesn't debut. He's the young kid that you need. He's the young kid that needs to play. He's the young kid that needs to break through. Demeter, Jacob Ryan, and TJ are the 3 that need to smash it. I said this in my last live. Those 3 need to come into the team at some point. They probably won't start. You're going to have injuries. You'll have a suspension here and there. You'll have matchups that might need to change. Frampton will probably come in the back line. All these things are going to happen. But if you're going to have youngsters that are going to debut, those three need to debut. It'll be bad for them if someone like Will Hayes debuts before them. If you've got a player that's really, really little and needs to develop his body and basically, he just finished puberty, so he needs to develop into a man pretty much still. If he's about to get a go before the others, then the others are on the watch list. But I think Demeter is probably first in line with all them. But then you've also got McRae, who's fighting for the same spot as Demeter, like within that midfield. So it's just so difficult. You don't want to be a Collingwood selector, but you love to be a fan because we've finally got these problems. We haven't had these problems in a long, long time. Demeter will be the Ollie Dempsey of 2025. I'm not saying no to that. Anyway, what else have I got here? So we've spoken about Geordie's thing. Just a side topic. So merchandise is out on the club website. I'm a sucker for merch. Like I'm one of those nerds that just buys everything every year and spends stupid money when I shouldn't have stuff. But I'm going to take it easy. Obviously, I'll buy a jersey this season. But I already got a training singlet. But the member merchandise has come out, which is the cheaper sort of version of the good stuff, which I don't think they've got like a Nike or anything on there, but they've got like the Collingwood logo member, and they've got like the sponsors and stuff, which I think it's just the AFL material, like it's the AFL store stuff. I actually don't mind the zip up hoodie. I don't know. I just thought I'd put it out there. I don't mind the zip up hoodie. I don't mind that stuff. It's something different, But like Nike, the last couple of seasons, I wanted to talk about this last week. The last couple of seasons with Nike, geez, they've been like slow. Like I know ISC wasn't anything special, but at least they had stock. Like I found like they had so much stuff all the time. What's Team Mello said? I think we might finally ditch Nike soon enough. This is the problem. Nike's stuff that they've got, their range, when they've got it, is the best. Like I'll put it out there. It is by far the best merch that Collingwood have had since like Adidas era, since like 09, 010. 11 we sort of died off with the Adidas stuff. I like the design stuff. 9 and 10 were elite. We've now got that back with Nike. But we just they don't have enough. Do they not have the demand for AFL? Because I'm pretty sure Sydney's still got all their shit, right? Like, I've got the Fly jacket. I bought that in 22, and that's the best jacket. I wear that to almost every single game because it's freezing, like, during footy season. But how they don't have enough stock for the biggest AFL team in the country is it just baffles me. Because like New Balance have got stuff. ISC, I don't think they sponsor any anymore. They've got stuff. The biggest drama though, side note for everyone who was ever wondering, West Coast went from ISC, then they went to Caster, which is like a European sort of brand. Melbourne Storm had them too, but during COVID, they couldn't get all their shipment of their stuff down. So what happened was they ended up training and going over their contract into their contract with Caster, wearing their ISC stuff. So then they went with Caster, and that lasted 2 seasons, and then they pissed them off because they were just crap, and then they went to New Balance. I don't think Collingwood's going to be with Nike for very much longer. I think we're contracted with them to 2028. I think that's when the contract dies off. I would love to see it, and I've done it in my jumper analysis videos and stuff. I would love to see us go back to Adidas. I think the next one is Puma. I think we're just going to go through the list because if you think about it, who else is there? Collingwood's too big to go through any Target brands like we have with Star Athletic and New Balance and that type of stuff. I think Puma or Adidas is the next one, but I think Adidas is the same thing as Nike. They just don't have the demand and stuff like that for AFL anymore, which is the reason why Hawthorn stopped and they went to ISC now too. So, and I don't like how they've got the sketches on the top instead of saying like ISC. Like that's, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's just my opinion on that. Anyway, some more stuff to talk about. The club hasn't, along with like the media stuff and everything that they've been posting out, like they haven't been, we said they haven't been posting out. I've noticed like just general news has been really low. Like I know they had the AFLW stuff, which I don't pay attention to that at all. Like I'll watch it if it's on, but who cares? But I know it sounds bad, but I just there's no pull, there's no interest into that at the moment. The last bit of major news that we had was, apart from Darcy Cameron's press conference, the last bit of major news you had was when Barry Carr got elected. And that's like, you're going down almost 2 months. There hasn't been any sort of news. Now, I know no news is good news, but I want the club to come out on the website and just be, instead of just having photos of training, which is great, don't get me wrong, but we've got content creators there that are filming the stuff anyway, that are doing their job regardless, you know? I would just like to see a little bit more, I don't know, just rubbish content. Like, give me like jokes and stuff like that they do behind closed doors, or like when they do those scare tactics and they scare someone and they have like a reaction, like stuff like that. Just give us that type of stuff on a more frequent basis, because I know we're working, I know everyone's doing whatever, but like we live for this shit. Like we want to see that stuff, you know what I mean? Like, and I just don't feel like they're doing anywhere as much as that as what they used to, and that's why I think like stuff like Swoop Luke, Pies Footy, sort of myself, and other sort of like people who make stuff on YouTube about other football clubs like Saints TV, Billboard, and for Carlton, like we latch onto that stuff. You know, we provide all the stuff that we can, sort of thing. I just wish they just had a little bit more. You know, that would be nice. Should the club tell us during pre-season what days and times we train so we can make content on it and watch the boys? They sort of do, but they don't publicly do it, if that makes sense. Like if you go to training and you ask them, they'll just tell you straight out like when it is, and then like during the videos and stuff that they post of training or photos, they'll say next training is this, you know, and that's all you've sort of got, or unless they give you like a week's notice for like a family day or something like that. The one that I'm interested in is the intra-club games, which I want to talk about later, but I'll talk about it now. Like, I want to know where the intra-club games are going to be, like the proper ones, like us versus us, blacks versus whites, you know, or lights versus darks. You know, I want to see that, and I want to have dates on when that's happening. Like, is that happening before the boys go to Queensland and when they play against Richmond, or is that happening, you know, a week before the season starts to get them prepped up before opening round? You know, like, can you give us the dates for it? Like, that's the stuff that I want to know. Do you think Reef will play as defending this year for Collingwood? He's only playing in defence, and from the stuff that I'm seeing, we're probably going to have to redo our best 23 of 2025 soon, because, it looks like he's probably going to start, which I'm not. I haven't put all my eggs into that basket yet, but the word is that he's a lock. And if he's a lock, then Jacob Ryan's in trouble, TJ's in trouble. You got other ones that are, you know, it could be the kick up the arse he needs, though, Reef. And I'd love to see him just come in and play, but I don't know if he's that Nathan Murphy type, which we're screaming for. I'd rather have a tall defender in Billy Frampton, just clark everything down back and let Darcy Moore do that stuff, you know? They're going to have to work something out there. I thought they would have done a welcome video with Charlie Gardner, our new GM. I don't even know if they did. I think they just did a, like when they announced it, they just did like an announcement, like article, and then put his face on there when he was doing his Sydney job, but they photoshopped it into a black Nike top. Yeah. Anyway, they haven't really done anything about it, which I think is crazy. But in other news, we do have some football to talk about. The 15th of Feb, we are doing our, or we're going to watch basically the Indigenous All-Stars versus Fremantle. So there's two things with this. Fremantle are going to be a damn good side this season. I put them in my top 4. I think they are going to be extremely hard to beat at home. The only thing about Fremantle is I fear for their... If they lose a game that they shouldn't, like let's just say, for example, St Kilda, North Melbourne, a Gold Coast... I'm not going to say West Coast. They won't lose the derby, or the derby, whatever they call it. Let's just say Fremantle lose a game at home that they probably shouldn't lose. I'm going to say St Kilda. They're a really good example of that. If they play them there, I'll just use it as an example. You don't want to play Fremantle the next week because I think they will be like they're going to mentally they're going to be so fired up. I just feel as if they're the big dangerous team this year. More than Geelong, more than Sydney, more than Brisbane. I think they're the ones that people have got to watch. However, if they lose a couple of games and they have to go play us away, Geelong away, whatever, and let's just say they've lost 3 games in a row, they are the biggest confidence team like that can just tail off. And we saw what happened to them last season. They died in the arse towards the end. And I think that's the only element of doubt, and that's why I'm going to enjoy watching this game because, yeah, they're probably going to play some youngsters and stuff like that, but it will just be good to see because we all pay so much attention to Collingwood and we're just so, like, mentally driven by this football club. You see someone else play and you're like, oh, hang on a second, this is actually a really good side that's playing. And then on top of that, Bobby Hill's playing. So, touch wood, pray to God that he gets through. I don't care if he doesn't get a kick and he plays crap, to be honest, but I just don't want him to get injured. But it'll be nice to see if he lights it up, then there's some real, there's some real excitement that's going to happen, which is good. And that's on the 15th of Feb, I'm pretty sure. I think the Indigenous team's going to have some changes because I think there's some players now that aren't playing. So do you think we will see Johnson this year? And do you think he will get traded at the end of the year? I don't think we're going to see him. I would love if he doesn't get a game this season. I want to see him dominate in the VFL. I want to see him try and push us to the finals in the VFL because if we're aiming to finish top 4 and play in the busy part of the end of the season, we need our twos going. We haven't had that. We haven't, and I think that's been a big problem for this club. We've got to get them both up there. There's no point us being up here and then we've got guys waiting and are busting their ass off at training, but don't have that continual match simulation. You know what I mean? That continual match, and they're not match hardened. Because if you've got a player that comes in, let's just say we make a prelim final, but then the qualifying final we've played, we've been decimated with injuries, and he has to come in. What happens if our twos haven't played in 3 weeks and he's only had training? He hasn't been match hardened. That's what I'm worried about. So for his sake and us not getting injuries, I just want him to dominate and play as long as possible in the twos. And then if he gets a trade, he gets a trade. Otherwise, he won't be with us in 2026. I believe unless something bad happens, he won't be with us. So, and you got someone like Charlie West who's coming in too, and you want to give him the opportunity when it comes now too. So I think Johnson's passed, and Johnson's stiff too, because, and I firmly believe this, if Ash Johnson didn't have the broken wrist for the 2023 grand final that week, he would have been picked over Frampton as a natural forward, as opposed to someone playing defence, trying to defend a defender. So, yeah. Hey, mate, what are the chances that we get LDU and Rao? I firmly believe we can get one or both. I'm not even looking at LDU or Rao. I'm looking at Christian Petrarca. I'm hell-bent on this, and I know it probably won't happen, but I just think he wants to come to Collingwood. And I think that, if you've got all 3 of them there, if he's damaged goods because of his ribs, the club won't pick him. But based on pure, match winning and, what he can offer, I've got Rao, LDU. I've got Petrarca, LDU, and then Rao. But I'll take any one of them. I will take any one of them. I think the club's probably going to go harder for LDU, but they're already met with Matt Rao. And this is one thing I wanted to talk about, which I made notes, and I'm glad you brought this up. But did you know when Matt Rowell, when did he get drafted? Was it 2018, 2019? I can't remember. It was one of those 2 years. He was the number one pick, right? Collingwood were after the number one pick. This is a true story. This is a 100% legit. Take it to the bank, right? Collingwood were after were inquiring about getting a higher draft pick, not necessarily the number one pick, but a higher draft pick. Gold Coast came up to Collingwood and said, we will give you the number one pick in this year's draft if you give us Adam Treloar and a second rounder. Or Adam Treloar and another player. I think it might have been Phillips or Josh Thomas at the time. But that's what they were aiming for. And we said no. Fast forward 2 years after that, we've done the fire sale and we got rid of Treloar, Stevenson, Phillips, Boston-Lavagi, and then a year later, Sire was gone as well. That hurts. Now, there's a chance that we could get him, and I just think to myself, we're probably going to waste two first rounders on him. As long as I got the points for Thomas McGowan, there's a chance that we could lose 2 first rounders. But would you rather lose 2 first rounders for Matt Rowell, or would you rather lose 2 first rounders for LDU? If we're going to play that card now because we've got a chance to, I'm going LDU before Rowell, because I don't think we've got the commodities there. I don't think we've got the stocks to get both of them. We'd have to lose a big player for that to happen. We'd have to lose one of our premiership stars to get both of them in, and I don't think it's worth it, just quietly. I'd say Charlie West will play over AJ, probably. That's what I'm leaning towards as well. Do you think that Ed Allen could take over Steele's position by the end of the season? It'd be nice. It'd be nice. You know what I want to see? I'd love to see Ed Allen take the wing position, Harry Perriman have the other wing position, Josh Dacos be fighting for a spot but be playing on the half-back line, and then still side-bottom fighting for a spot and potentially being a sub or playing off the bench if they've got other injuries and stuff. Because don't forget, you've got Tom Mitchell's going to try and break into the team as well. There's always a spot for Steele, especially with the way that he's playing. But if you've got these young kids now, it depends. I mean, if Ed Allen's having a really good season, but not a great season, I still think they pick Sidey over him. But it just depends on injuries. And you might even see someone like Sidebottom and Ed Allen playing in the same team. So who knows? It's just, as I said before, it's hard because you don't want to be a Collingwood selector. Do you think Curtis Taylor could get drafted to Collingwood in the mid-season draft? If he does, and I hope he does, because personally, I know he's a forward. He's a 75 gamer for North Melbourne. Everyone was like, what the fuck? Why do you get delisted for this, that? I think he could potentially be an intercept marking defender. I can see Curtis Taylor coming in mid-season draft, right? Not playing the back end of the season, but in 2026 being like a Tyson Goldsack swingman if they want to go down that path. But he's desperate to get in. He's training with the seniors. Like, I don't know. The club's obviously eyeing it off. Like, yeah, if there's a spot there, you can have it for a year and a half and see what you... And like, what are you going to lose? What are you going to pay him? $400,000. He'll be on the base contract of a senior player. And then if you really wanted to, you can delist him at the end of the season, then rookie draft him, and they can be on cheap wage if you're going to get rid of AJ. And then he's in the team. So there's a whole different bunch of scenarios in, but I think he's definitely someone that could be very handy. I've spoken about him before. I hope that happens. I really do. Keep the questions coming. So I did want to talk about another thing. And so Swoop sort of posted about this today. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit shattered. He put it up as a video because it was one of my main topics, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. What do you guys think about the leadership group for this season? Is it going to stay the same? Does Howe stay in? Does Howe go? So you've got Darcy Moore, Maynard, Quainer, and Jeremy Howe. It's going to be Howe's last season. So I'm feeling Howe probably goes out and just he plays halfback flank, or he plays centre halfback, or he plays back pocket, full back, wherever he plays, yeah? And he just gets free rein. Just go be yourself. Go enjoy your last 12 months of footy and try and play another premiership and do whatever you can to be in that position in the first place. Like, I would like to see that. Does Nick Dacos come in, or is he coming? Would he come into the leadership group 12 months too early? You don't want to see what happened to Cripps. Becomes captain of the club, literally carries the entire history of that club on his back. And I think it's actually hindered him as a player a little bit, even though he's a two-time Brownlow medalist and stuff. But I think he could have been even better if he wasn't the captain and he didn't have that pressure, if he was more just leadership group material. It's like with Scott Pendlebury. I found that he's played since Darcy Moore's become captain. The last 2 years, albeit last year was a shit year, he just looks more free. The pressure is off. He looks like he's playing younger, right? I've seen him at training and stuff. He just looks like a total different person, and that's why I think it's probably be better for Howe if he was to go out. Do they bring the young leaders in and stuff like that? I wouldn't do that. I'd probably just add 2 more leaders to the leadership group as opposed to a whole new department of people, if that makes sense. So I'd say that you'd have Moore as the captain still. Maynard definitely as a vice. Quainer as the vice. I'd put Nick Dacos in as the vice captain to get him into the group. And then someone like, I'd love to see Josh Dacos go in there. And I'd love to see a younger player go in there. Like someone like a Bo McCreary, like to go into the group. Like, and just sort of fit that dynamic and stuff. But if it doesn't happen this year, mark my words, it'll happen next year when Nick Dacos goes in the leadership group. I would like to see them bleed Nick in for a season and then take over the captaincy. I don't think Darcy Moore is going to be a career captain. I think it'll be like a 6-7 year block and then hand it over. And then Nick Dacos is the next person for that. And I just hope to God that we've got another flag under his belt by then. So there's not that added pressure. And then he becomes Pendlebury 2.0. You know what I mean? Like he has to wait all this time, go through a grand final loss here and there, a prelim final loss here and there, a down period, and then he has to work the team back up. If we're just consistent and he's got those 2 flags already, like it's a bit more, like you're playing a bit more free, I suppose. I'm all about that. I just think the more free and the more relaxed that we play, the better, the more happy the team is, and the more bullish we can be on the field without the added pressure. What do you mean added pressure? We've self-declared that we're winning the flag anyway. Jesus. Any more questions? Keep them coming because I'm smashing through this tonight and we've still got 20 minutes to go. So keep them coming. We're up to here. What do you think of Dangerfield's idea of shorter quarters? I don't think Patrick Dangerfield likes to play football because he whinges like a lot, doesn't he? Like we saw during COVID, the whole shorter quarters, all that jargon and stuff, and it didn't really work. Like it was boring. Like games were over too quick. Yeah, we had that fucking power of footy where it was just games. That was awesome. Don't get me wrong. But like we can go footy all year round. Like we can do longer quarters. I mean, we love it. Why would you shorten it and why would you take it away from us? It's not like the NFL. I mean, you play for like 3-4 months of the year. You get stupid money, right? And then you kick them back the whole time. Like, nah, man. So, I don't know. Just keep the quarters the same. And he's getting older too. So he's probably thinking, oh, better for me, get paid more money and do less running. So, yeah, I don't know. What's the next one here? Rick. Drop Quainer out for Nick, Howe out for Perryman. I see it, but I think it's too early for that. I think that will be big, and I don't know about dropping Quainer out because if you were to drop someone like Isaac Quainer out of the leadership group this year, what does it say? What he was in the leadership group for 1 year and then we pissed him off because he didn't have as good as year as the year before. Like, I think it's part and parcel. Maybe the leadership group stuff was playing on his mind, and that was half the reason why. It wasn't the fact that he was, carrying a bit more muscle and stuff, and he was a bit slower. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it was more mental side of things with the added pressure of being in a leadership group. Don't take that off in the first year. I think that's probably a bit too soon. How out for Perryman? I'd be more inclined to put someone like a Dan Houston in before Perryman, but it could be Houston and Perryman that'll go in the year after. I just think it's their first season. Let them bleed into the club. I mean, it's very rare that you see a player. I can't even remember a player going to a club from another team and automatically being put into a leadership group straight away. I don't even think Dangerfield had that in his first season at Geelong. I think it was the second season he went into the leadership group. Like, if anyone remembers, let me know. That's actually a pretty good stat. Jimbo put Nick in 100%. He's a natural leader. He is, and that's why I think he should be in the leadership group now, because, I mean, already this is to be his 22, 23, 24. This is his fourth season of footy coming up. Excuse me, that's his fourth season. So I think he's due to go in there. But if not this year, he will go straight up to the top the year after. He's definitely the next captain after Darcy Moore, I think. You can't have Nick Dacos playing in your team and not be the captain unless he himself turns around and says, I don't want it. Give it to someone like a Houston or a Perryman or another person that's come through, a Maynard. I think Maynard's a smoky too after Moore, but I think Dacos is probably too good not to be the captain. And also, Dacos is very well media trained already for a young person. Like, straight away, him and his brother are just like perfect for the media. Whereas Bruzzy, I don't think 100% he's more emotional, whereas the other two are a bit more like they can go into character on the camera, if that makes sense. Whereas Bruzzy, I think, especially you see after the whole Brayshaw incident, and obviously that's like very vulnerable, like raw state after the game. You saw him just like try and compose himself and stuff, whereas the other two, I think, we can focus here and we can say what the media wants us to say and what everyone wants us to hear, or just the cliche stuff. Like, we're straight down the line with that. So there's that aspect of it as well. Chris, sorry, I'm going to scroll down here. Do you think Collingwood can make top 4 this year? And do you think Maynard will stay at Collingwood? Maynard is not going anywhere. I'll put my mortgage on it. It's not happening. He's not going anywhere. And I think top 4, if we don't make top 4, we're not going to win the flag. I know Brisbane won it from 5th, but there is an element of, like, I've got to be realistic here. There is an element of this competition, the top half of this competition is so even, it's not funny. I still think we're daylight above a lot of other teams, but when you cop 1 or 2 clinks in the chain, then everything starts to change. And I don't think that's what I think that could be a bit of a pain. But I think we're finishing second this year. I posted a video of my ladder prediction. It got almost 2,000 views. Check it out. We like to see Jack Crisp in the leadership group. Also, he's definitely got the. I don't think he hasn't got the history to back him up to be a captain, but I think he's got like the off-field side of things. But I think he's definitely got the buy-in from his peers and from the club, and he's a true Collingwood person that can definitely be in there to help mentor the young kids 100%. Because he's a Collingwood person through and through. So he could be another one too. But it just depends. Are they going to do what they did sort of like towards Buckley's end of his tenure, where they had like 10 players in the leadership group? You had the young emerging leaders in there. You had heaps of players then I think you don't want to have too many Chiefs and not enough Indians. Like you want to have 4 or 5 tops in case any of them get injured. Different players have got different approaches. It's like any workplace, like different department heads have got different approaches to general managers and stuff like that. It's exactly the same in the football club. And it's obviously being a very male-dominated space. You need to have the softies, you need to have the hard ones, you need to have, the ones that just play by the rule book, you need to have the more casual rat pack type ones. It's just the dynamic flows better. So, yeah, 5. 5 is the max. Yes, well, Chris? Okay, there you go. Judd was named captain in his first year at Carlton. And fun fact, Lance Whitner was captain at Carlton and got delisted the year after his last season as captain. Yeah, he should have come to Collingwood. He would have had a flag. But nevertheless, how good was the Judd, Kerr, Cousins, that combination at West Coast? Stop it. Carlton. Although West Coast did pretty good out of that deal because they got Kennedy out of it. Can you imagine? I mean, it would have been great if Judd didn't go, but can you imagine if Kerno was coming up, peaking, and Kennedy was playing well at the same time and they had them? That would have been scary. That would have been shocking. I hate that football club. Who do you think is our next breakout star? Alan Demeter, TJ Reef, or Will Parker? Will Parker's a real smoky, and I don't think us as supporters give him enough credit for someone who hasn't even done a proper or who's doing his first real proper preseason now and still was able to break into the side last year and play some decent footy. I still think it'd be Ed Allen, but, it's... I'll throw this back to you. Imagine if it's a Finn McRae. Imagine if it's Finn. What happens then? And this is the thing. I mean, you look at that. You got Allen, Demeter, TJ, Reef, Will Parker. You got now Hayes, Charlie West, Cochrane. Right. I mean, this is our future we're talking about, right? Then they're going to play around Nick Dacos. Josh Dacos is still young. Bobby Hill's still young. Everyone's saying, you've got an aging list, this, that, because you've got so many players, I think. But those players are still good, those older ones. So they're still going to play. We can hold on to this young group. And then you've got Thomas McGon coming through. Our youngsters are fine. People need to calm down and say, they really haven't got much. But you might not think we've got much because they haven't played, because our older guys are 37 years of age and they're running around like they're fucking 27. It's annoying. But yeah. Baker and Graham just joined the West Coast leadership group too. Well, there you go. I stand corrected. It's all happening now. It just shows you I don't pay enough attention to other clubs, and especially rubbish clubs like them. But Baker's going to be good at West Coast. Jeez, he's going to be good. I know the last 2 seasons he was a bit iffy, but I think he's just going to have a full chip on his shoulder this season. Do you think we'll see a memory play for Collingwood this year? Yes. I think we'll see a memory play almost every game. I'm putting you out there. We'll win the flag in 2025. I must be G'ing you up something vicious with some of this stuff, but I hope that it happens. What's your stance on Oleg Markov? I think Markov's going to struggle this season. I don't think Markov is going to be here in 2026. I would like him to be for just that extra depth. But I think it's time Markov took our VFL team to the finals. There's only so much in life I think you can ride your luck. And I think he's got, from what I can tell and from what I can see with the training vision and when I was at the training and stuff, he's a dad now. And I think he's mentally shifted from, hey, I've played at 3 clubs. I've potentially could be playing at Carlton. And my career would have been done. I went to Collingwood, won a flag. This was the most amazing thing ever, blah, blah, blah. Right? I think maybe he's content, and it showed with his form last season. Being a dad now for him could be something different, and he could just go next level, or he could be too humble and be like, it's time for me to move on with this next phase of my life and go play local footy and go get a job somewhere and do it. But I don't know. I'm just sort of speaking out loud here, but I don't think he's going to play much football for us this season. I think I would be putting TJ, Reef, Jacob Ryan, these guys in my mind if I was Craig McRae before Markov. But knowing that I've still got that ace up my sleeve with experience, if something happens and we need a like-for-like player to go in. So, like if those players are injured or something like that, then obviously you can bring him in and he's G'd up, ready to go. He could be an impact player for a couple of games here and there, but being on the rookie list, you're not going to look at him before TJ, Charlie Dean even, and those type of players. Even to go says the side we have this year is better than our premiership team, which makes other teams scared. Everyone says a lot of things at this time of season. You can go to any football club right now, and they could be Richmond, and they could be turning around saying, our club is flying, everyone is ready to go, we are going to have such a good season, blah, blah, blah. Everyone can say that stuff at the moment. Obviously, we're a little bit different than that, but you look at our list on paper, take out training form, take out who's got the niggling injuries, everything. When you're adding Membry, don't forget, he had a good season last year. You're adding a ready-to-go Membry. You're adding a dual All-Australian, the best defender in the competition, Dan Houston, and a pretty decent midfielder or half-backman in Perryman into the side. Yes, it is better than 2023. And I encourage everybody, go and watch like a replay of that 2023 prelim final against GWS and have a look and take notice in Perryman. Even if you watch the short highlights on YouTube, you will see the amount of things that he does for GWS that go unnoticed, that are the link in the chain every single time they hit us hard. He took an intercept mark. He got the ball and he kicked it to Hogan. He got the ball and he kicked it to Tom Green. He got the ball and they got out of the pack and he was the one running past. Like, we haven't had that since Taylor. Like, we haven't. Well, we've got a few players that do that, but we haven't had that consistent sort of player that's played that same role since Taylor Adams. Because you had, the two Dacosses doing it, but they're playing on the half back. You got someone who's playing in midfield half the time and he's doing it. I think Perryman's probably going to be more valuable because there's so much focus on Dacos, there's so much focus on Houston, there's so much focus on Degoe. Perryman could and can just, it's like Jack Crisp. Like, there's how many midfielders have you got? Like, to man up against these guys? You don't. Like, good ones, Don't forget Big Roo. Well, yeah, I think he'll play this season. I don't think he'll play every game. I think Cox still gets a go before him. But, I mean, does Cox even get in? Like, does Cox get in there with Membry? I still think the Cox-Cameron combination, I say this every week, I say this in almost every video, but now that combination is just too good. That combination is too good for it not to be in the team. Thoughts on what Lockie Schultz can offer us this season? Just pressure. I just get that first year out. It was a premiership hangover. He came into a side that was lazy, content, and didn't pull their finger out until it was too late. So I think it's going to be a total different ball game, and the way he plays is going to benefit Jamie Elliott. It's going to benefit Bobby Hill, and it's going to cause teams a lot of stress. I just hope he's consistent. I don't want him to have a shit game and then get dropped for 3-4 weeks, and it takes 2 months for him to get back in the team. Just be consistently decent, right, and apply the pressure, and his role will be one of the most important in the team. Oh, big Michael Gaz. Say it's the end of the year. Who would you offer up as trade bait to get a big fish at the club? I don't know. I don't know, Lipinski, maybe. Not McCreary, maybe Lipinski. Depends. We're going to lose too many players anyway. So salary cap wise, we're going to have enough. I don't think we're going to offer a lot of players. I think it's going to be more picks are going to be more important. Good question, but you stumped me. You stumped me, you prick too. Do you think Timothy and Alan Parker along will play in the midfield future of Collingwood? You'd like to hope so. Jeez. Bobby, if he wants to head to WA, it's always there in your mind that like if he was going to go back home, but I wouldn't. He's going to play. I said this in last week's live. He's going to play for like the big bucks, the big contract, and I don't think he's going to want to leave. It depends. Like West Coast aren't really going to be challenging for a flag. Fremantle maybe. So there's the chance maybe he might want to go back home and say, hey, listen, I'm not playing my last 3-4 years at Freo. But if he's too happy here, then I doubt it. I doubt it. It's crazy how hungry we are for the premiership. You've got players like the Dacos brothers, Lipper and Titch, who are running. Well, I think now that we've won a flag in the last couple of seasons, and we've improved our list, there's just no reason for it not to happen. And a lot of players are obviously going to retire within the next 24 months. So, we're not going to be in a better position in the next 2 years to win one. Like you've got to, the next 2 years, it has to happen. Otherwise, we've got a 5 to 8 year stretch of being like building again, and that's just the way it happens. That's just football. Do you think Pendles will break the record and retire? I think it will break the record for games played. I think if we win the flag this year, Pendles and Side will both retire, but we can't lose all of them at once. So IQ was training 3 days after the 22. Yeah, I did say that. He was on the treadmill and stuff like that. I saw that video. That was pretty good. I'm going to pretty much wrap it up from here. Any last questions? How did Geelong poach Matt Rowell? Well, they haven't poached him yet, but they've spoken to him. Collingwood's spoken to him. Essendon's spoken to him. Geelong's spoken to him. That's just everyone's going to speak to him. He is going to come back. He is going to come back down to Melbourne, but I just don't know where Geelong could fit him in unless they have heaps of retirements and they haven't like topped up with or they've front-ended or back-ended players. So then all of a sudden all this salary cap room becomes available. We're going to be in the position now where we're going to have access to these picks. Plus, we're going to have players that are going to be having their last year of a heavily top-ended contract, which means that we're going to have money left there, and then we're going to have players who are heavily front-ended. So we could get these players on a low front-ended contract and then just balance it out in the books for them. So a player that could be worth, $900,000 a year might only get 5 or 6 the first year, but the next year he's getting $1 million. You know what I mean? So there's a chance that we could manipulate the books to do that, all within reason. But we can do that, and I think that's what Geelong have been the master of doing. Geelong have also been the master of potentially, I'm not even going to say it, but Cotton on Bailey Smith, a nice big fat house. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I said we'll go for 1 hour. We are going to go for 1 hour. My phone's gone crazy. How's this? No one, I got messages the other day, but no one wants to message or anything within the last couple of hours. The second I click record, my phone went not. Like I'm doing this the whole time on my watch. Like, fuck, man. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you guys jumping on. I'm going to try and get the training tomorrow. I'm not sure. It's just with work. I've got to see how everything happens. I'm picking up my son from school because school's started and everything like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. We could potentially, just saying, I'm looking at things. We could potentially be getting some hoodies, some black and white United hoodies and some beanies. I'm not going to do T-shirts and all this stuff. Like, that's just too much work and stuff. And to be honest, most of football season's freezing our asses off anyway. So, it's an extra hoodie there. And I'm not going to charge $1 million for a hoodie. So I'm working on stuff and maybe revamping the design of the channel and stuff like that. But it's just a thought. I've spoken to a few people and it looks like it's going to happen, but we're going to just play it really slow. But I need to see if the interest is there for that type of stuff. So, but at the end of the day, everyone loves a hoodie. So last question. We'll definitely get a hoodie. Good. That's good. I like that. Last question. Here we go. You say it's Cox or Membry. I would have Membry in the side before Schutz if it comes to that. Our forward line is stacked. Every position in the ground is stacked. That's what wins you a premiership. When you've got the depth and you've got the players that are bashing the shit out of each other, right, and are doing everything they can just to get that spot before they go out and take on the opposition. These guys are doing this to each other to get that spot. That's the fundamental thing that wins premierships. You've got to have a healthy list. I'm going to have to redo my best 23 or 25 because I'm seeing these comments and I'm just like, I'm going to have to do it. I'm like, what about him? What about him? What about him? And then all of a sudden it's like there's someone like Will Hoskin Elliott or Lipinski miss out. Like, you don't want them to miss out, but it's just one of those things. Guys, thank you so much for joining tonight. I was looking forward to this all week. I'm pumped. Get on all the podcasts. Get on Into the Woods podcast. Make sure you give the Pies Vault a like on Instagram. Rewatch some videos of mine. Get on Swoop Luke. Get on Pies Footy. Get on everything and just enjoy it because it's coming soon and it's going to be here. So for now, make sure you leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And as always, go the Pies.